There's one right there.
Is this the
Yep,
packet?
He's got the lay down, but
I'll
the
get
packet,
that.
we're sharing.
Hey, that's just a minute.
That.
That's not the packet, is it?
No, this is a laydown.
We're cool.
Oh, well, it's
Special
dispatch.
Yeah,
At
it's
least
probably
it's
a
dispatch.
She
dispatch.
signed this December.
We're fine. I'm sure Chair Cease will direct us well, and I'll know what's going on. So,
Okay, I'm ready. We're ready whenever you
Ready to
are.
rock.
All right. Calling this work session of June 21st, 2021 to order. At 6:18 p.m. Please call roll. Pemberton,
Here.
LeBrecq,
here.
Ward,
Here?
Benoit,
Here.
Chair Cease. Here. You have a quorum, Chair. Thank you. Okay, so. Okay, so this is the meeting. I'm gonna deal with the meeting right now. Okay, so we're going into the work session. And I'm gonna do this in the work session. And that is, we received a note from the clerk with regard to nervousness on the part of our financial reporting and soliciting public funds. So I want to go back to when we submitted our grant application, which was January 27th, 2020, signed by the city manager at the time. And in December of 2019, on page 37, you will see that the total project cost was $28,825. The federal share was $17,295. The sponsor share, that would be us and the public, is $11,530. And down beyond that it says source of applicant sponsor share. Use figures from sources box on budget form. So for cash, we have $2,500, in-kind goods and services, $2,381, and donated goods and services, $7,629. And I don't want to keep, my point is not to go with absolute penny marks on this, but it is to say that on the actual grant application, it does list cash as part of what we're doing in this project. It's in the grant. Therefore, it is a requirement.
The problem is that the commission as a whole did not vote on the letter before it was sent out, and they were soliciting, or you all were soliciting money from the public, and the information that was provided, which is, we have to go over this in the special meeting, that way it's in the minutes, it's in legislative history,
understand
it
that.
covers you all. But it's just, there was not enough information surrounding those efforts, and it could have caused legal ramifications.
In-kind goods and services, and on that committee was Iris Darling. Now, while she is no longer a commissioner, the question came up, can we have other people on these committees, volunteers, without having to get permission or vote anything in? We were told, yes, that is correct. So I do not believe that anything was violated on our part. And I personally solicited dollars from Rolf Barterson in person at Resurrection Rentals, and I don't think that I was in violation of that. Last month, Tongi, in our June meeting, on the back page of his report, almost to the bottom in the orange section, engage in fundraising activity to cover any budget shortfall. Fundraising committee is working on this. Committee member, Commissioner Sue Ward, has been working with volunteer former Commissioner Iris Darling to fundraise. Rotary donated $1,500 as well. Tongi is compiling list of current donors with Finance Director Naneth Ambrosini. Total to date, including Rotary donation, is $4,600 on top of $24,000 CLG grant. Should be fully funded. This was the June meeting. So Tongi is going to do, when we have the special meeting, a much more eloquent, professional, and calm explanation. But as the chair of this commission, I found myself quite upset when I read what was put out requesting answers. It made it sound as if we were sneaking or doing things wrong, and there should never ever be any sense of that when you're dealing with volunteers. Thank you. Commissioner Benoit?
Okay, so let's start with the video. At our last meeting, we talked about we wanted to update the video if possible to remove the reference of to getting a great cup of coffee at
Resurrection Road. I mean,
at Resurrect Art Garden House, not the rental place. Anyway, I did that, and also while I was in there, I played with the volume to try to make my voice louder. And in addition, I did two other things, and I just got an updated thank you sign from Peter, which I briefly looked at, and to me it looks correct, and if you guys see something wrong, we can fix that, but I updated the video with that. And I also realized that on the slides, you know, that say Brownell Street, 1st Avenue, 2nd Avenue, whatever, that photo is Resurrection Bay Historical Society photo, which I didn't have a number on each one, the attribution, so I put that on all those slides. It might be getting cut off in the video part in some places we don't see it, but I was going to print out a copy of all the slides from this video for the city council for the presentation so they could see everything. Nice. And look at things in their own time, and it'll be on all that. So if you want to take a look at this, we could look and see if you're like, love it, and we're done.
let's go.
With that.
I'm excited.
So, and I looked at it really, really fast. I was out of time, so hopefully it's all timed right.
Yeah.
The Seward Historic Preservation Commission, with a grant from the Alaska State Historic Preservation Office, worked with partners and the public to create a historic walking tour with 26 signs, 46 sites, and a map and a webpage. Now that you're here, you've become part of our story. Let's take a quick tour of our 26 new signs. When you take the tour in person, you can start wherever you choose. You can pick up a map at the Seward Community Library Museum and discover all the details of Seward's amazing history for yourself. Starting on Brownell Street, or Homebrew Alley, this was the place to be during Prohibition if you wanted a drink, and where the bootleggers and moonshiners made their living. On 1st Avenue, you can see the 1904 Brownell House, where D.C. Brownell, who was part of the 1903 landing party to Seward, lived. On 2nd Avenue, this is the place where most of the workers and local businesses lived. If you were on the south side of St. Peter's, which was Seward's oldest church, you were on the bad side of town. North of there was considered the good side. Check out a few historic homes and learn how clues found in the walls during the renovations of one house rebuilt the well-known family that once lived there. On 3rd Avenue, this was a place of bustling activity and where additional businesses, hotels, and homes were established. You can see some of Seward's fanciest houses on Millionaire's Row, which were built around 1905 by railroad executives and other prominent citizens. and fourth act of our walking tour and see several houses moved here by horses and learn about one family's harrowing escape from the fires and exploding oil tanks during the 1964 earthquake. You can also learn about Seward's Quonset huts and the famous actress that may once have stayed in one of them. Check out on Railway Avenue the beautiful train station that used to be on Adams Street but was moved here to save it from the floods. See the Founders Monument, where a landing party arrived here in 1903, and you can look over to where the 4th Avenue Wharf used to be before it went into the drink during the 1964 earthquake. On Adams Street, you can see the haunted Van Gilder Hotel and the Standard Oil manager's house that survived the earthquake and the exploding oil tanks next to it. And then on Jefferson Street, it's the widest street in town because Little Creek used to rage down it and regularly flood the town. We tried to contain it once with a big wooden box or flume, and when that didn't work, we dug a tunnel through the mountain to divert it. On Church Street, you can stop by and visit the old Methodist Church, a wonderful building that's been connecting people in Seward since 1917. Then you can head up Low Canyon Road and learn the truth and conjecture about our famous Mount Marathon race. Don't forget, there's still 20 other interesting historical sites on the tour worth a visit as well. We hope you enjoyed the tour.
Well, that looks good.
That looks
Thank you
fantastic.
so
That looks
much
really
to our
good.
partners, donors, contributors, and especially to the property owners willing to share Seward's history with others. Enjoy.
Well done. Well done.
How'd you like it?
Well done, Mary Ann. Outstanding.
Would you like to show that thank you sign on the screen? That way everyone can take a look and see, did we forget anybody? Can you guys read it? Or try to
I can read it, but
to
I'm
you?
like probably got the best angle.
So it's Alaska State Historic Preservation Office, City of Seward. I put those first and then all the rest are alphabetical. And we have A+ Chainsaw, Apollo Restaurant, Costa and Demi, not sure how to say the last name.
Kanakakis.
Kind
I had him repeat it to me about 3-4 times.
of, okay.
And I'm not sure either.
Okay. Arctic Paradise Bed and Breakfast, Mary Ann Benoit. Then the next one is in memory of
Matthew.
Byers, the Byers family. Coastal Heritage Properties, the Casa Grandes. Bruce and Carol Jaffa, the Cobble Company, the whole family. Iris and Hugh Darling, the Lindsay family, Medco, Northern Lights Home Staging and Design, Mary Ann Benoit. Seward Ale House, Seward Rotary Club, Sweet Darlings, The Tides Inn, Peter and Jody Toloff, Tony's, The Tufted Puffin, Mr. and Mrs. Leslie Wilfer, and Corvus Designs.
They're related to the first pastor of
Right.
Resurrect Art. I didn't know who they were, so
Cool.
I found them
They
out.
just applied a lot of, well, of financial donation plus a lot of pictures, including the one you love, which is like
The blowing up
the
of the
bridges
bridge.
with the little dog watching.
That actually looks really good. I think it filled in, we kind of had that donors part was not very
Yeah,
well represented, and now
Yeah.
it's really nice
it's
and
really
balanced.
balanced.
Yeah, balanced. That looks really good.
So I think that's all the people. You guys think of anybody missing? Okay.
I think it looks good.
Okay, so the next thing to talk about is the map. And you can see in the packet, I've been working with Peter on developing the map. So what's in the packet is basically his first draft. I think it's an 8.5 by 11, right, Tongi? So this map would actually take a whole paper.
Commissioner Benoit, do you want to continue in a work session, or do you want to go into the regular special meeting session?
Well, the special meeting I called to vote on the webpage structure, which is, I haven't gotten to yet.
Okay, but you're referring to the packet.
Oh, well,
I mean, it's okay, we can stay in the work session. It's up to you, it's up to you guys.
Yeah, I think as much of that nitty-gritty stuff done in the work, so we can
Okay,
get
agree.
to the vote and the meeting and
Yeah,
then
yep.
done.
okay.
Make that clean.
So the bottom line is he sent this draft. I already looked at it. I spent hours reviewing it. I checked every single location of every single number. I made sure nothing was missing. I made sure all the wording was correct. Things were, I gave him edits like, move this number, it's not in the right place. This section right here is what the back of the map would look like. And we discussed, and he said there's no way you can fit everything on the back of the map. We have to cut it down. So what we came up with was basically the back of the map is showing the details on the things that do not have a sign. We're
Okay,
expecting people will go to the numbers and read the sign for the detail.
Got it.
And if there's no sign, this is telling them
But wait,
what's in
there's
the
more.
back. Or the places that don't have a sign.
may I ask a question?
Sure.
So, with Peter telling you that we can't fit all this on there, are we losing some of the additional properties that you talk about in the video?
No, those are all.
No, there are, every single property, all 46 sites are on the map.
Okay, perfect.
The narrative on the back of the map is only narrative about the things, the places that do not have signs.
Okay.
What is it titled? Does it have a title, Mary Ann? I didn't get to look at it on the back, above those extra ones.
It's got narrative that says, welcome to the Seward Historic Walking Tour. Visit our website for the history, sources, and all the contributors who helped make this happen. We encourage you to visit these buildings to see them and read their interpretive signs, if they have one, but only to go to those buildings that are active businesses or public facilities.
Cool.
The information provided here is for the locations that do not have interpretive signs.
But wait, there's more.
Okay, so if you wanted to see all of the information, the next section is basically, it shows 2 pages of stuff. That's what our narrative looked like, which we couldn't fit into 1 page.
Okay.
Okay, so what I said is, hey Peter, can I have that? Because I'll just put it on the website. And that way people can go, they use the QR code, they can just go there and see everything in more detail.
Perfect.
if
That's a
they
great
want.
Yeah.
solution
And he
there.
said, sure, you could have that. And I said, will you charge us for it? He said, no.
Yay!
So,
So is
so everything is actually going on the website, it just can't all go in the map.
So is this the actual,
Yes,
Okay,
that's the
cool.
map, the
Okay.
front and the back.
Two comments, Commissioner Benoit. Well, 3, thank you. Second, I had completely forgotten about us making that notice that, please be respectful to businesses. And because some people ask us that, they said, like, I don't mind being on this, but I don't necessarily want my house to be approached, so thank you for remembering that. And 3, just for purposes of context, if you are looking quickly at the map on the front and you're looking at the back of the extra properties, I was joking, but I was half serious at maybe saying, but wait, there's more, ... Something that calls your attention to looking at that back page and realizing that it's not the same information as the front page.
that's a good idea.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not looking at it.
So basically have something somewhere that says, but wait, there's more in the back
Maybe-
page.
Like at the top of that
At the
second
top.
part, so that
Where-
you look at it and you're like, what do you mean there's more? And then you
Where
read
it
that
says
statement.
Seward Historic Walking
So
Tour
like in
map.
big font, so you look at it and you're like, oh, I need to read this.
Okay.
And it's perfect. But thank you for
So-
calling out that part about the businesses.
Commissioner Benoit, the point you make on the,
Sorry.
that's all right.
Turn my phone off.
The point you make about just, observing, these are not places for people to go up to or go in, right? That you have on the back of the map. Can you do that on the front of the map? Is it possible? I mean,
I'm
if
not
it's
sure
not,
if there's room to put that when I look
yeah, I
at
know.
it.
Just asking.
I'll mention it to him, but just by looking at this, I would say probably not.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
It's pretty jam-packed.
It is, it's like, yeah, it's
It
like
looks
as
great,
much
though.
stuff
It
as
looks-
you
Clearly
can
see
do.
all the dots.
I'm amazed. Looks so good, Marianne.
So the bottom line is, he sent me this, I reviewed all of it, the numbers, the front of the map, the back of the map, the text, the whole thing. I've sent him a whole bunch of edits, which he's gonna fix. Plus, he said something about, oh, I might spice this up a little bit with the colors, or have 2 different colored dots with the numbers, like for businesses or homes or something.
Yeah.
So
Great.
he's gonna come back probably tomorrow and have the updated version of the map with the narrative, with, you know, any color changes or whatever. My hope and dream is that we can like quickly go, yes, this is good, let's send it to the printer, get this printed and have it for the city council meeting next week. But what my suggestion is, if you'd like that to happen, for us to vote and to give Tongi and I the okay to say, this
Absolutely.
looks good, go.
We'll
Absolutely.
do that at the
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's one.
So, Commissioner Benoit, so this is gonna be an 8x10 on one side, and this is gonna be an 8x10 on the other, and it's gonna be trifold?
I think it's,
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's correct. That's
is
how
it
it's
8
designed.
Yeah.
and a half by 11 or 8?
It's 8.5 by 11, but the point is, it is a trifold. It's
Okay.
designed to be trifold. And what we can do
And
is,
so-
he said he could run a small run, right? So we probably will run 10 of them. So even if at that last meeting we find a problem, we can fix anything.
I think,
before we
what I
crack
suggest
5,000.
is we run enough to give everybody in city council one,
Yeah.
plus some extra ones for all the public that
Yeah.
come. And then if there's, you know, we find things, then we can fix it later before
do
we
that.
run like 5,000
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So, getting back to my request, if this is in fact going to be an 8x10, he probably can find word for, I don't know, your deal here. But only go, but only go into those buildings which are active businesses. So we need to say something here about, for the houses, you know, that is private property.
Well, isn't that what the sentence says? We encourage you to visit these buildings.
I think she just wants it more emphasized. Just
But
talk.
only go into those buildings that are active businesses or public facilities. Actually, I think I did send him an edit. When I sent him the edit, I think I said something like, I added a sentence like, please respect their privacy.
I understand what you're saying,
Or
because the
something.
thing is, like, if you're in New Orleans, a lot of those private homes, you can like open the gate, go walking around and look and stuff, because that's how they're set up, but this isn't, these are all private homes.
So
So
just
you're really
that-
only
So-
going to, I understand what you're saying.
So did you like that? I think I forget what I said, but I added like, could you please add,
A
please
stronger
respect their
statement.
privacy.
Would that help?
Or something like that,
Yeah, on here.
on the map. I'm not sure if it's gonna work on the map, because if you think about the map, look at it.
I know.
It's just going to look exactly the same, but.
I know.
I'm working on it, and then at the night of the city council presentation, as soon as we play this, I think I've got an idea for a presentation where it's just like we stand up and we have like one sentence of introduction, we play the video, then there's like a few more sentences that's like, I'll read it to you about anyone who goes up to a sign will see the QR code, they can hold up their phone, go right to our webpage, and then they can see the video, they can download the map, blah, blah, blah. So if we can do that and the webpage is ready, I'm not sure if you'll be here that night, where you could just pull it up as, if it's me saying that, we can, as we're saying the words, pull that webpage up on the screen and they can see what we're talking about. And so the map would be on there.
So are you guys
Everything
working
would
with
be on
GIS, your IT?
We will be working with IT on it, yeah.
So Jessica and I
Yeah.
talked about, like, could you go?
It's
Can
Monday!
you do it? And she said, maybe Wednesday?
Well, I have trainings 12 to 4, Tuesday through Thursday, and tomorrow morning I'm busy all morning, but we can do it Wednesday or Thursday morning, or I have all day Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner
So-
Benoit, I just want to point out that the QR code, we had actually expressed when we first wrote the grant that we thought that would be version 2.0, that we wouldn't get to that this time. So that's
Well,
above and beyond.
We're just like so fast. We
No,
can't help
you
it.
are like so fast and cool and amazing.
Thank you for the help.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome. Okay, so moving on to our webpage. You can see the design here. My hope is that we did take this banner, it goes right across the top of the page. It's exactly like we have on Facebook. And then it basically just goes into the Seward Historic Walking Tour. We have that paragraph that talks about what the walking tour is. It's basically the same narrative that's on the first slides, okay? Which is, you know, we did this with a grant from SHPO, worked with our partners, blah, blah. Now that you're here, you're part of the story, da-da-da-da-da. So, then right under that is the video. So somebody could be standing there at the sign and go, oh, hold up their phone, go to the website, and they could watch the video standing right there if they have
Very
reception.
cool.
Wow.
Okay, as long as they have, you know, internet connection or cellular, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
they can watch this video. So then the next thing, right under that, would be, it'll say walking tour map. And it says, with this map, you can start wherever you like to enjoy the Seward Historic Walking Tour. Pick up a map at the Seward Community Library and Museum, or download one here. Learn the details of the historic sites by visiting the sites and reading the signs. Sites without a sign have more detail on the back of the map. I just thought of something. I could have the little blurb about private property owners.
Yeah, it should
Don't
be
go
there
in.
too, yeah.
Okay,
That'd be great.
so basically, like that. Then, the next thing they see is the map, the front and the back, and something right under that says, download your map here. So if they don't have a map, they find a sign accidentally, they can just download the map from their phone right there. Or they can be looking on their phone
they could
and
yeah.
see the map and follow it on their phone.
Right, they could put it to their phone.
And then the next thing says, download your walking tour map here. And then the next thing says, learn more about all the historic sites in the walking tour. And it has the graphics of those 2 pages that has all the stuff we couldn't fit on the map. So they could see more right there. Then it says, thank you to our partners, contributors, and donors, which has the updated thank you sign.
So they're gonna
Perfect.
thank you on the
So-
website too?
On this, in fact, Clerk Stollard, one of your requests was the thank you. Can you just take it right off out of the packet?
I just gave her the
Okay.
updated
Yeah,
sign.
this is not the updated version,
Oh,
so
okay.
she needs
you-
the updated
Okay, so
version.
you've got the update?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank
Okay.
you.
And then right after that, it says sources, references, and credits, and it has all of our information we used to put this together. I'm sure there's probably some things that could be cleaned up here, because doing perfect literature citations is not like my strong suit, but I tried to make it correct. But if, you know, anyone sees anything that we can, you know, fix this.
We can do edits later too,
Yeah.
right?
And then, that is all there is. And I was just trying to keep it simple.
Thank you.
I think it's
Awesome.
fabulous.
I do
And
too.
so hopefully, a person can walk up and go, oh my God, what's that? And they go see the sign, they hold up their phone, and anything they could possibly need is
amazing.
right there.
The other thing I would suggest, and I don't know if you have it on there, but I know, let's say you have your phone, you download everything to your phone, but if you say a blurb, you can always pick up a map at the library.
Right, and
museum.
the web.
I didn't know if it was on there, I just didn't see it.
Well, it's on the video.
map.
It's on the video, but just, and then a little
Yeah, on
note
the webpage.
Question,
Yeah,
is
that's a
it
good.
on-
next to the
map.
QR code
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
wherever you're gonna print off the map.
Okay, let me see, I'll make a note.
It's just
Yeah, yeah.
to let them know where they can pick up a map.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so she does have it. Underneath
I
the
didn't
Seward
see-
Walking Tour, it's the second from the bottom line. Pick up
So
a
it's
map at
already
the
there?
Seward Community Library and Museum.
Yep,
it's
okay, it's
there.
already there.
But could you
Page
say-
8.
Did you say, is there a place for print?
Yeah, this is the web page.
Oh, I know, but you were saying print, and I just thought, what I thought you were saying initially, which isn't a bad idea, is to have a hyperlink or print one off here. If somebody's sitting at their computer,
Oh,
Mary Ann,
Say that again?
if you also put a hyperlink right there that said pick one up at the library, because you're on the webpage, right?
Right, right.
Pick one up at the library, blah, 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 or print one here, and you hit click, and it took you right to a place where you could just basically print off the actual
the
map.
map.
If you're sitting at home in Wasilla.
Well, it's got a link that says download here, they just
Oh, there you
download
go.
it to their
Oh.
computer.
Yeah, download, or download it here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
No, that's
Okay,
on.
that does it.
Perfect. You're always one step ahead. Thank you.
But as far as,
so
does it
true.
say,
Well,
pick
just
up
a
a map at the library on the actual paper? No, like I say, they don't need it. If they have the paper map, they
Right.
already have the paper map.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
I was just thinking if, you know, if I had, like say I found it, I've had my phone, I don't do real well on my phone, I'd like to get something I could hold in my hand if I knew where to go. Let's say if I just stumbled on it.
Okay. So we're
That's
on
all.
that.
That was my thinking.
Okay, so that's the whole thing. If you guys, if we can vote at the special meeting, if you like
Yep.
this,
Uh-huh.
we'll
Yep.
say yes, and then
Yep.
Jessica and I can work on it.
Yep.
Okay, so then the final thing, which I didn't have in any of my stuff, but I created this like quick little, I had an idea for the presentation that I wanted to run by you and just see what you think. We only have 10 minutes. This thing is 6.5 minutes. So I came up with this idea that right before the video, we could have the video up on the screen and either me or you, we could just get
Cheryl's
up and
probably
say,
good.
the Historic Preservation Commission is excited to present this video to you that summarizes the historic walking tour. It will also be on our webpage and our Facebook page. And then you play the video. Then after the video, I could say, Jessica or whoever could pull up the webpage and I could say, you may have noticed that each sign has a QR code so that anyone can use their phone to connect to our webpage and learn more. Once there, they can see this video. They can see a walking tour map, which they can also download. More history, our references, and partners. The highly successful outcome of this collaborative project is the result of thousands of volunteer hours, relentless enthusiasm, and significant donation of time, treasure, and talent of the Historic Preservation Commission, our partners, businesses, local and state entities, passionate historians, and private citizens. We wish to thank the City Council as well for their partnership that will benefit citizens and visitors for many years to come. That whole talking business is about 1.5 minutes, and this is 6.5. So we should be
minutes.
able to do that under 10 minutes, maybe
Yep.
with a minute to spare, and be done.
I don't know, I'd like for you as chair to open, introduce us maybe that first bit,
Okay.
then show the video, and then turn it over to Mary Ann to talk about
Good call.
the webpage and everything else.
Yeah.
But I think you as our chair should really introduce the project.
And if you like that first sentence, I'll just send it to you. It's
Yeah.
basically
Yeah,
this-
no, I think it's great.
I think that's what I would
Because
prefer.
I read this and timed it, because we only have 10 minutes, so if we go off on a tangent, forget it, we'll never be able to.
And we have to get the cake.
Yeah.
Then they can ask us questions, which can take longer, and then, yes, we have to have some cake.
Is that in process?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just wanted to know.
However, apparently their printer has been broken for some time.
Well, then we just,
So I said, hey, this is a state presentation. This is very important. So they were supposed to get back to me today.
Okay.
I will be on the horn with them tomorrow morning.
okay.
So you've been talking to Safeway already?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was gonna do it tomorrow if
No,
not, so
no,
just
no,
making
no,
sure.
no,
We
I read it
promised
last
cake.
week. I read it a copy with the 2 pictures,
But
with the 2 cakes. No, yeah.
And, yeah, okay, well, I knew you'd have that in it, but
I
yeah,
mean,
so,
come on, cake's important.
so, bribe, who knows?
Just
But
tell
yeah,
them
so,
otherwise we're gonna draw it and we're gonna put Safeway's logo on it. And have you seen me write?
so let Cheryl introduce video, then you step up to the plate, do whatever we need to do, then cake. Questions and then cake.
I love it.
Yes,
Okay, that
Um,
sounds good.
yes. How do you all feel about, well, one, you have to be there. We all have to be there.
Yep,
Okay? If you're late, Jim, that's okay.
you can sneak in the,
Yeah, it doesn't start till 7, and they probably won't get around to us until what, 7:20, 7:30?
yeah,
Okay,
we'll be on the list.
so, how about we all stand up, okay, as a group, as the commission?
Sure.
Okay, good.
Sure.
All right, does anybody else have anything they want to discuss in the work session?
No, I think that's it. Is that it?
I only wanted to make one comment, and that was that it's very exciting because if you think about back to, it's kind of a progression of things. It's now become a series of years. In 2017 was the HP Preservation Plan, which had legs to it, and I think it inspired a lot of us to continue on, and then on to now where we've got this 2021 fabulous project. And I think it's just a continuation of a dedication to history and really continuing to move this forward so that the city sees
And the
there's a
next
true
step is,
benefit.
the next step is the historic overlay.
Correct, it's like a trifecta.
Yeah.
Oh, I just thought of one more thing for the city council presentation. We have to think of like the materials we're going to give them, and I thought I could, like I said, I will just have a copy which I'll give Jessica of all the slides, because the slides actually say more stuff than I'm saying.
You could
in the
read them,
video.
yeah.
You can't read it all, and have it done in 6.5, so they can look at every sign in detail at their leisure, read the stuff. Plus they can actually read all the signs, so we'll have that. And then I'm hoping we'll have copies of the map that we can give them all. And then, you know, they can watch this. So that's what I was thinking we could give them, plus, I don't know if you had a report or, what else are we gonna give them?
I'm not gonna
Anything?
complicate that.
Yeah.
I think it gets, the onus is on introduction, the fun deliverables and stuff, and they'll see the impact of what's
The
been
report
done.
comes
Like I
later.
said, you want the impact to come, you want it to feel good, that way I'll be excited when we start doing the historic overlay and those things. We need to leave a level of excitement that's there.
Yep.
And people see why we're doing this and how we're doing it, what the benefit of all of it is, and how it all ties together. And I think that me getting mired into a long report would be very boring.
Yep.
And
There's
there,
a lot of slides on this too, so it's gonna be kind of a long,
I agree.
but anyway.
This is fun.
I feel no need to speak.
Okay, I just felt like.
Unless there's
That's
a
something we-
question
Yeah, I have my
that you
notes.
could answer, or, I mean, if there's a question that any one of us would be better at answering, please do so.
Yes.
Okay, now, how do we feel about ending the work session and going into our special meeting?
Right, so-
I'm ready to do it.
Okay.
1 second.
And so
All right,
we'll
ready
go-
when you are.
Okay. This is the special meeting of June 21st, 2021, and I'm calling the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Please call the roll.
Do we want to do the pledge?
Oh, excuse me. Tommy, could you lead us, please?
Sure. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
And now I will do the roll. Let's see. Pemberton,
Here.
Ward,
Here?
Benoit,
Here,
Lebrecht,
Here.
Chair Cease.
Here.
You have a quorum, Chair.
Thank you.
Do we have anything on the consent?
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda and a second motion?
I so move.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have no special orders, presentations, or reports, no unfinished business.
Chair Cease.
We need to.
I'm sorry, we have to vote.
Approval of agenda and consent agenda. Lebrecht,
Yes.
Pemberton,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Benoit,
yes.
Chair Cease.
Yes,
The agenda and consent agenda have been approved. There are no items on the consent agenda.
thank you. We have no special orders, presentations, or reports. We have no unfinished business. For new business, we have finalized webpage design and presentation of the Certified Local Government CLG Grant 20005 Historic Sign Project, which you will find on page 8. Commissioner Benoit?
Okay, so, as we discussed And the work session, basically the structure of our webpage that we're developing just for background for people. Once you start seeing these amazing historic signs out there in front of properties, if you'll notice up in the right-hand corner of each sign, there's going to be like a little QR code, which is like a barcode, kind of like what you see at the grocery store. If you hold your phone up, that'll just take you to a web page, which we are discussing this structure right now, and we hope to have up by the end of the week. And so once you go there, the structure we would like to have is our Historic Preservation Commission banner across the top. Then it'll say Seward Historic Walking Tour with a little bit of background information about what this is about. Directly under that, it will show the video that we have showed previously in our meetings that summarizes the walking tour. It shows all the signs. Right after that, there'll be a section on the walking tour map. And it'll say with this map, you can start wherever you like to enjoy the walking tour, or you could pick up a map at the Seward Community Library Museum. And it will show you a picture of the map, the front and the back. And it'll say you can download one here. So you could just run across the sign accidentally, go up, watch the video, download the map, see what there is to see about that. Right after that, it would say, learn more about all the historic sites in the walking tour, and then there's some additional historic information. There's 2 graphics that just has more information that's on the map. After that, there is a copy of our thank you sign, which has been updated to show all of our donors, partners, contributors, and the property owners that helped and graciously are sharing their property, or the ability to show a sign and teach people about the history. Right after that, there is a section that says sources, references, and credits, which is basically shows all the materials we use to do the research on these properties. And that's it.
And you need a
Short and
motion,
sweet.
you need a motion.
And I've developed the structure, we discussed it, everyone liked it, so we wanted to vote on that just to make sure we're good with using this structure, and then we will make that happen.
And then just
Okay.
to back up for just a minute, we totally skipped over citizen comments. We do not have any that were turned in, and there's nobody in the room.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we didn't skip over citizens. Yay.
There aren't any in the room.
So I propose, I would like to make a motion that we accept this webpage structure as noted in the packet.
And give you and Clerk Stollard the ability to get that up and running.
Yeah. Mhm.
I second it.
Okay.
Alrighty. So accepting the webpage design and appointing Benoit and the clerk to get it on the city website. Ward,
Yes.
Benoit,
Yes.
Pemberton,
Yes.
LeBrecq,
Yes.
Chair Cease.
Yes.
This has been approved.
The other thing that we were going to vote on is giving you, Commissioner Benoit and Commissioner LeBrecq, the freedom to vote on whatever else we need to have done with Peter, with Corvus.
Yeah, just a background for people listening is right now we're working with the sign designer to create the actual map that shows all the locations on the front side and the narrative of the sites that do not have signs on the back side. We have already looked at the first draft and sent in edits, and our goal is to have this completed so that we can actually print some maps and make them available to the City Council next Monday night, June 28th at 7 o'clock, when we are doing a presentation on this project, and have some available for them and any citizens that come to the meeting. So what we'd like to do is vote on the commission being comfortable with Commissioner LeBrecq and myself working with the sign designer, making the final decision, this is good to go, and saying, we're, you know, this is cool, we can go ahead and print it.
So I'll move officially that we let Commissioner and Grant Overseer Tanguy Lebrec and Commissioner Marianne Benoit have final say in the design of the map once we get it back from the sign designer. Is that what you wanted?
I second.
Alrighty. Benoit,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
LeBrecq,
Yes.
Pemberton,
Yes.
Chair Cease.
Yes.
This has been approved.
Okay. All right. Now, we are going to have a report from Commissioner LeBrecq. And this is going to be in response to a request sent to us by Deputy Clerk Stollard and Clerk Ballou. Without further ado, Commissioner LeBrecq, you have the floor.
Thank you, appreciate it. And this report is intended to serve just kind of a progress of where we are and where we're headed as we are just about to complete this project. So thank you very much. So this is regarding HPCLG project number 20005. This is our working draft report. It will serve as a precursor to the final report that will go to the state as well as to the council. As of 6/21/21, this is a walking tour and signage project update, and I'm giving you this as a project manager. This report will serve as a progress report again for CLG 2005. We'll seek to summarize the following, which are overall project goals and history, our timeline of said project, an update on progress, budget, report on private fundraising efforts, and in-kind effect on the City of Seward share of the project. This is also talking about public notice, marketing outreach, and donor recognition, goals and expected outcomes of this project. To give you a little bit of history, CLG project number 20005 was approved by the State Historic Preservation Office in late May of 2020. The fulfillment of this CLG project was started in June 2020. That's when we were able to start working. Note that the project was a result of many hours of preparation and significant collaboration with Library Museum Director Valerie Kingsland and administration, including the city manager at the time. This was additionally approved by City Council, who approved not only the project, also the city's share of the cost. Fortunately, through thousands of documented volunteer time, thousands of hours, city support, as well as enthusiasm and generosity of Seward citizens, we're nearing completion of this project, and you'll see that in our timeline below. The overall goals of this project and deliverables are available in the original grant application and the subsequent grant notification. All things that have been publicly noticed and are available to anyone who's interested in reading those documents. The State Historic Preservation Office has indicated they are thrilled and impressed with the way in which we've executed this project, which is not always the case with working grantees. I did speak to them last week. They have seen some of our deliverables, they have seen some of our presentations, and have been watching closely as to how we've been working on this project. They said they're very thrilled with what we have produced. Original commissioners on this project were Cheryl Cease, Sue Ward, Iris Darling, Wolfgang Kurtz, and John French, and I left myself out. Current commissioners include Cease, Ward, LeBrecq, as well as a valuable addition of Commissioners Marianne Benoit and Jim Pemberton. Thank you so much. Committees were set up as follows: Historic Preservation Planning and Advocacy, Marketing Communications, Grant and in-kind donations, Volunteer Recruitment and Engagement. In the words of the administration, we've created an activity that every resident and visitor in Seward will enjoy for years to come. Our love of the community and the historical events it shaped is evident in the passion we demonstrate for the service we provide. Seward is truly lucky to have such a dedicated commission. I concur, and thank you for those words that came from administration and from the clerk's office. Thank you so much. I concur. We've been told we should be commended. With that, I also concur. Goals reached and expected outcomes of the project. 26 signs have been completed for the walking tour and have been shipped. These signs were offered at no cost to the recipients, as cost was covered by the Certified Local Government Grant, well over 1,000 volunteer hours, in-kind donations from various local partners, and cash donations from generous Seward citizens. Tremendous partnerships have been strengthened with local historical societies, our library, museum, and local businesses and private citizens, including renowned historians and curators of our history. We ended up needing rights to over 100 pictures from our partners at SCLA and RBHS. I think you know what those stand for. Much appreciated and of tremendous value, well beyond in kind we thought we would need for pictures. Who knew? Tremendous partnership there. A virtual presentation and project overview set the period music has been completed and will be shown at the City Council meeting on June 28th. Thank you, Commissioner Benoit. The public is invited and we will celebrate with cake.
Cake.
This will be publicly noticed and everyone is welcome, so please join us for that celebration. This project has been documented via our Facebook page and through dozens of meetings, sometimes several a month throughout this project. That should be noted, we've been referred to as being extremely enthusiastic, and that's exactly what we are as a commission, because we all care very much about the history of Seward and know that the benefit of this project will mean. Our HP webpage will be featuring the newly created walking tour, featuring the 26 sign locations, plus other walking tour locations of note that total over 40, I believe 46 stops. So if you get a chance, you can even take a look at the working session previous to this meeting, and you can learn more or come to the City Council meeting on the 28th, have cake, and see all this product. Once signs are in the ground, anticipated to be in late July. We don't know, because shipping by boat, we just found out today, is going to happen on July 12th. There was some delay in production, not unlikely during this pandemic time, but there's a delay in production of the actual posts, not the signs. Those are being shipped by boat July 12th. We'll be distributing two-side narrative maps with historical narrative guides to guide visitors. These will be made available free of charge to the public with an initial run of 5,000. A thank you sign will recognize our partners, collaborators, and donors, and will be installed in the library garden so that we can see who contributed to this project in perpetuity. A report on our timeline, project considerations, and fundraising reports is below. You'll see that in a minute. Budget report on private fundraising efforts. Initial estimated project cost was right around $28,000. We're really close to that target. We're currently at an estimated cost of $29,190. This might go down depending on shipping costs or if any remaining supplies can be gotten for less. This could also go up as the cost of rental equipment or any excess delivery or supply fees are added. Again, we won't get these put in until sometime in late July, could be perhaps even August, which the state, with the Historic Preservation Office is fine with. We've collected $7,200 in private funding, that's as of this morning, and verified with finance. Well over $3,000 in kind, and logged volunteer hours that are exponentially beyond the original 300 hours that we anticipated. Volunteer hours, by the way, are worth over $28 per hour. It has been opinioned that the overall value of the combined volunteer hours for a project of this scope with 26 signs, 46 locations, a map, a web page, QR codes, and like would be well worth over $100,000 if a contractor did this versus the volunteers who donated their valuable time, their talent, their treasure, and professional expertise simply out of the goodness of their hearts for the sole benefit of Seward residents and of historic preservation. The original state reimbursement would not have been enough to cover invoiceable costs and anticipated costs of install. As per the State Historic Preservation Office, the city's original required $2,500 cash share and contribution to the 40% match was also completely rendered unnecessary by the number of volunteer hours. So in other words, we had so many volunteer hours when you looked at the total that had to be gotten, whether it was local donations, in-kind donations, or city monetary share. All of that was actually satisfied by the volunteer hours and then some. So we have clearly saved the city of Seward and the citizens of Seward from having to put any monetary contribution unless they so wished as private citizens and wished to donate, as they were also enthusiastic about the project. Expected costs are laid out for you here. One of the exciting things is that we most recently had A Plus Chainsaw, is what it is, actually not AP. A Plus Chainsaw has offered to provide some expertise in helping us to get the signs installed. That's been the biggest barrier. It's also one of the biggest barriers to figuring out the final cost on everything, because we know we have to have all of our bills and everything in by June 30th, but we don't yet know 100% what equipment that we'll need and so on, and we'll need professional expertise. So when Commissioner Pemberton has offered, time allowing, to help us with installation. And A Plus Chainsaw, that is Austin Chapman, has experience installing signs here in Seward before, and he has offered to pick up the equipment, pick up the material, pour the concrete, monitor it, put the wood braces up, all the things that need to happen, and or work with a group and a cadre of volunteers, because we will have plenty of volunteers. You don't just dig a big hole in somebody's yard, pour concrete in it, leave. There's a lot of prep that's got to happen. There's locates with 811 that's got to happen. There's prep and exactly where the sign's going to go. There's digging that happens, putting the signs in, bracing the signs, mounting the signs, and then making sure that we clean up and we're respectful of those property owners, whether it's city property or whether it's private property, that we're respectful and we leave it nice and clean. So we were able to inform him. You'll see that person show up on the sign as well, because the value of $1,200 to put in 26 signs, including the wall-mounted ones, is a tremendous gift. So, and has expertise as well. So we're lucky to have more than one operator. Cole had actually offered to give us a concrete truck and drive around and do all signs at one time. That's probably not practical, but however, although I thought I had higher costs, I called over the weekend and spoke to Metco, and I was like, hey, how much is this going to cost? And then he ended up saying, well, I'm going to give you all the concrete and all the D1 for free, which is great, except that of course made it so we had less cost, which means that we might have a little bit of excess that we'll have to talk about in a minute. But I was anticipating spending $960, I think, originally on concrete. I'll no longer have to spend that. So Metco said, well, of course, I'm a Seward citizen. Why wouldn't I do that for you?
Yay, Metco.
Of course.
Yeah, so that's great. Still have to buy some sonotubes. Those are the things you put in the ground. And then picture rights. We kept that really low because we only had $300 that we did as a donation that we all voted on and agreed to go to the Library Association. And they gave us a tremendous amount of free pictures. RBHS would not take any money at all for their part of it, or any donation or anything, so it's in the thousands of dollars as to the free pictures that we got. We did have some that we had to buy from the state of Alaska or the university, and hence $430 in picture rights. So there was a shortfall that came up. Once you looked at all this and started saying, how much is everything going to cost to deliver and to install and to all these things, it's an ongoing budget, reported on those budgets at many meetings. And then started looking at the budget and saying, oh my gosh, it's June 30th, we're going to get to the end, how much money are we going to need? As we were starting to look at that way back in April, we realized that we might need to ask for more money. The original grant requests were for grants up to $24,000. We actually asked for less money at the time, because I thought that maybe not knowing during the pandemic that these costs would be higher, that we could maybe do it for a little bit cheaper. I did contact the Historic Preservation Office, and they said, of course, we would give you $24,000 minus the administrative fee. We have funding for it. Your project is going great. We'd be happy to help you. So the request for SHPO additional funds, which is not unusual in late stages of the project, that's how they work. So they do projects until they get a few months out, and then they usually even will put a call out to, does anyone else need more money? Because some projects came in under, some projects came in over. Again, as she mentioned, some projects have not worked so smoothly during all this, and some people not finished the projects, and there's additional monies. So they went up to that $24,000. They initially said there'd be an administrative fee that we signed for in the original documents from the grant. It said you agree that you will pay the administrative fee, which was like a couple $1,000. But then they decided that they couldn't charge an administrative fee. So the next thing we got was an amendment saying you're not getting 22, whatever that number was, I put 22,120, whatever, you're getting 22,125. Instead of 22,125, you're getting 24,000, right? So later they determined they'd be not levying the fee, there would be a reverse up to $24,000. So initiation of private fundraising, the second thing we did was initiation of private fundraising efforts by Commissioner Warden, former Commissioner Darling, because even after we got to 24, or what we thought was 22,000 at the time, we said, oh my gosh, we're going to come up 3,000 to $5,000 short, and we can't raise it after June 30th, because the grant will be over and so on, so what are we going to do? We talked about it at these meetings multiple times. I initiated some things, looked at the current committees and looked at them and said, hey, committees, we're going to have to kind of, okay, we're done with the sign design now, we're done with sign production, all those things that Commissioner Bernard is working on and coordinating us. Now it's time to get the volunteers together, get the signs installed. Well, how do we do that? Well, we need money to do those things. So the fundraising committee was kicked off. That was called grants, and that was a grant committee, grants in kind. If you look back to as we mentioned, if you look back at the original grant request, they also mentioned that we would be making up shortfalls with money from private citizens. So initiation of private fundraising efforts by Commissioner Warden, former Commissioner Darling, who was originally on the commission when we put the grant in, when I wrote the grant at that time with assistance from my fellow commissioners. She was one of the named commissioners on the original grant. Ms. Darling served as a volunteer fundraiser for the project. And project manager Lebrecht was in charge of the committee, so I was in charge of the committee, and I asked Sue Ward if she would work with former Commissioner Darling, volunteer Darling, to get this done. While this committee was referred to as the fundraising committee, it served the purpose of the grants and in-kind committee that was referred to in the December meeting and in numerous publicly noticed HP work sessions and regular meetings since that time. On June 4th, a letter solicitation was sent to potential private funders, as per what we talked about in our initial grant. Although the Commission and administration was apprised via comments from Commissioner Ward in several meetings that a letter was going out, it was not reviewed in the meeting or entered into public record via discussion and exhibit our regular meetings. Apologize for that. However, no direction was provided by the clerk's office at this time that would be necessary until just now when this came up. Again, we did not think that was going to be necessary, as we'd mentioned in the original grant that there would be private fundraising. I'd like to reiterate that the fact this committee was fundraising private funds was very clearly discussed in many meetings that the public was invited to. So, questions that were put of us and answers to those questions, and certainly invite any questions or comments on those when I conclude the presentation. So question, what was the goal of the community fundraising effort to close a gap that was initially thought to about $3,000 to $5,000, which was lessened by the SHPO removing an administrative fee that increased the overall potential reimbursement for an amount up to $24,000. I want to clarify, up to $24,000. If we choose as a commission to say we only need $21,000 or $22,000 because we've collected enough funds, including private funds, we could, and we'll reference that later, make a decision that we would actually take less state funding. We could do that. It's up to $24,000. And we knew that when we accepted the $24,000, saying, hey, if we need this, and that's what they said to me, if you need this, we will give you up to $24,000. That's what the letter says. The question, purpose or intention for use of the funds. The funds will be used to satisfy the cost of designing and manufacturing signs, posts, and mount supplies, equipment rental and installation, as well as printed walking tour maps. All costs are specified in the grid above. Again, cost of material and installation came in slightly higher than expected. Not surprising for the pandemic, and if you really look at when we originally did this grant, we actually got a late start with okay from the SHPO, who did not give grant approval until much later than they originally anticipated because of what was going on with the pandemic and also some issues that they were having there. They were just overwhelmed. So we got started a little later, and then we were in pandemic, and things, of course, are, everyone knows, costs. Question, when is the deadline for donations to be received, or is it an ongoing date? Any donations that are received from here on out would only be from previously committed funding. Commissioner Ward has called all donors who indicated verbally that they would donate to thank them, establish how they'd like to be listed on the sign. Big deal for donors, right? You got to make sure you put their names properly on the sign and that we don't miss anyone, hence the discussion that we had earlier. Any solicitation of funds was completed on June 10th, so any money that would still come in now would be from original asset we've made. We don't believe we've missed anybody at this time or that there's any other funds, and I've advised Ms. Ambraziani that we don't anticipate any further funding. The welcome sign recognizing donors who gave or expressed an interest to give has passed, and the sign has been submitted for manufacture. There is no further fundraising anticipated at this time. Question, did Seward Historic Preservation Office, SHPO, so it's the Seward, it's not Seward, that's actually the State Historic Preservation Office, increasing the budget for a certified local government grant, CLG, by $52.35 on April 30th, 2021, affect the amount being requested for donations? It did not. The State Historic Preservation Office increasing the budget did not. Due to higher than expected costs of signing, manufacturing, delivery, the elevated cost of supplies, my estimates indicated a shortfall of $3,000 to $5,000. So it's important. We're doing a budget all the way from the very beginning all the way through the end. I'm talking to SHPO all the way through several times, letting them know how I'm doing on budget. Things are changing as costs change, and we have to, that budget is always a target until you hopefully come in on time, on budget, is the goal. We're very, very close to what our original budget was, within $1,000 right now, simply because we've been able to get a lot of in-kind and being able to keep our costs down. There was even a cost line for travel, in case we had to have some travel or something. We've had zero travel, and there's a lot of things we just spent very little money or highly efficient. So, again, SHPO originally indicated administrative fee that would have resulted in a maximum reimbursement of $22,100, not up to the $24,000 the city may receive now, which again is optional. Additionally, as the value of volunteer hours is far exceeding the original estimate, there's no longer a required city cash match for the project. In other words, the $2,500 we do not have to write a check for. We originally anticipated some support from Seward Public Works and or Parks and Rec to help defer the costs of installs and to provide expertise. It made sense because we were working with the city. The city was our partner. The city council voted on it. The city manager at the time voted on it. We anticipated we would have some help with the install. It's the pandemic, folks. They're working very hard. They don't have, from what I understand, a lot of the volunteer labor that they usually have during the summer. They're working long hours. Everybody's working long hours, and there just simply isn't the labor that is needed to say, come out and help us dig for a couple of days. So we anticipated that we would get assistance, expertise on that. Spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to do something as simple as put a sign in. So very recently, however, we've received some indication that they may be able to provide limited consultation assistance and get us started. Commissioner Benoit spoke with some folks from both the Parks and Rec as well as from Public Works, and they indicated they would at least help us get some expertise and maybe let us test a couple of properties. So we'll see how that goes. But again, the inability to count on this support from our CLG partner, understandable in this pandemic environment, caused me to determine the need for additional funding. Fortunately, I've been able to secure the services of a local business owner that we spoke about earlier with A+ Chainsaw, who will coordinate the installation of volunteers at a reduced cost. It is not unusual for project budgets to change or to be modified over the course of many months for implementation, as I mentioned earlier. Throughout the process, we've kept stakeholders aware of progress through work sessions, regular and special meetings. Again, folks, sometimes numerous meetings over the course of a month. I remember when we used to have maybe one meeting a month, and we used to take a couple months off. We're talking literally some months, weekly meetings, in addition to the work that we're all doing on a daily basis. This project is almost like a full-time job sometimes. It is not unusual for project budgets again to change. Throughout the process, we kept stakeholders aware. Page 32 of the executed grant request stated that we would be seeking in-kind donations and private funding during this project. The city endorsed that by reviewing and signing off on our grant application. The committee called Grants and In-Kind was intended to be fundraising. In April, during work sessions in my report, I indicated, word for word, time to start working on some fundraising and eventually volunteers. This will be subject to further discussion. Need to also rework committees. Historic Preservation Committee is very active. They need to be retitled as fundraising.
So
Question.
if it's gonna be permanent committees, then I would caution you against having volunteers on it. I don't think there's a problem with them helping the commission at all. It's just when there's certain things that need to be voted on by the commission as a whole,
Sure.
then you need to make sure it's brought back to the commission. And yeah, I would almost say with a committee, because that's how we do it with other boards and commissions too. It's best when possible to limit those to just the commissioners. And then if there's volunteers who want to help with it, as long as we get documentation on that, that's great.
We could thank you for that. We certainly could discuss it, but I did ask that question very specifically about whether we could have volunteers on these committees. But you're talking about in perpetuity that we would do that. Because for this particular project, I specifically remember the time when I asked the question. To be very specific,
Yes.
I won't go into it. I was eating dinner. I can tell you exactly what I was eating and when I asked the question and what time I asked the question, when I
And
asked
the
the question,
answer.
and the answer was yes, you can have volunteers. And Deputy Clerk Stout, you might not have been here at that particular meeting, so I'm not sure. But I did ask the question. I'm sure we could go back and find it. But I understand what you're saying, the intent of what you're finding. We also probably could say, hey, we have a committee. We're calling for volunteers. We could agree to call for volunteers. And we could then do it that way, and then there would be no issue.
And that's another option, like when we solicit for the HP award nominations.
Right.
Just make like a public notice solicitation for monetary donations, and then it covers everybody.
Yep. I think that's great, and then we'll have in public that we're asking for volunteers, and that's always good. So,
So, Commissioner LeBrecq, should we just leave these committees for the duration of this grant?
I think that since we're not doing any further fundraising, we don't have to,
Yeah.
but just for being able to go back and say that this all is as it should be, and that we've discussed this, we might note that the fact
Yeah.
that this particular committee for this grant should be, it's a fundraising committee.
Well, we could,
Yeah,
when you're at the
so-
end of your report,
the
we
end of
could
the report.
have
Yes,
a couple of
yes,
motions.
okay, yes.
So, question, and thank you for clarification. Question, how many donations have been received to date? According to Naneth Ambrogiani in Finance, 7,200 has been received, as I mentioned earlier. It's just a bit higher than the 6,500 reported by Director Kingsland on the 10th. She did report on that when she was asked about it, way back on the 10th. We're not anticipating additional checks currently. Sue Ward touched base with all donors, Commissioner Ward, as below to ascertain exactly how they'd like to be recognized on the thank you sign that will be installed in the library gardens. These are directly from Commissioner Ward after she verified the information. Donors to walk a tour, you can read all of these here. Again, I'm as well. Sweet Darlings, Miss Leslie Welford, Tony's, the Cup and Puffin, the Cobble Company, Lindsay Family, Apollo Restaurant, Coastal Heritage Properties, Arctic Paradise B&B, Northern Light Staging, the Tides Inn, Seward Ale House, Memory of Matthew Byers, the whole family. And this also includes a previously received donation from the Club of Seward. You can see it from the Rotary Club of Seward. And this is a very diverse group of donors. Yes?
I just wanted to make a comment that there is a couple little modifications of the way this is written.
Okay.
Our thank you sign, for example, Arctic Paradise Bed and Breakfast should
Ah.
be spelled out, of course it has my name on it. Northern Lights Home Staging and Design, it's actually that company with my name. And there's a few other things like the, in memory of the Byers family, and it's listed, or in memory of Matthew Byers, the Byers family. So I'm just saying, there's been a few little changes
Which are
from
all
here to the sign.
documented on the
So,
sign. And we did get a question about that earlier. That's one of the questions. Are you going to provide the sign? And that's been an ongoing thing. We've been going over meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting on the sign and voting on it, looking at it, make sure we didn't miss any donors. So, and that's been entered into, that's been provided to the clerk as well, right? So that'll be available.
Right.
And it was also shown right there.
Right, and I
Actually,
just
so-
wanted to point that out because since this is in the record,
Great.
there are some
Thank you
little
very much.
small differences between what's final and what's here.
Appreciate that clarification.
Thank you, Commissioner Benoit.
Question, if the commission receives more donations than needed, then where will the additional funds go, or will they be returned to the donors? We will not know if there's an excess until signs are fully installed, as we talked about. At that time, we'll complete the final report to the State Historic Preservation Office. That's due on July 31st. And report on all budget and expenditures. And we'll be getting help from administration to get that report turned in. And I'll certainly, this will serve as a good start to help them with that. Applying volunteer hours in kind monetary expenses to budget, we can then either do several things. One, ask for less contribution from the state, as we mentioned earlier, so less than $24,000 if we have excess funding. Or two, retain excess funding for additional printed maps or ancillary costs related to the project. Again, none of that would happen unless there was a vote and some agreement to that. Or three, we could use any leftover funds to produce more signs. Again, that would take some discussion at a later time once we've seen what we've spent. Or four, returning the excess funds. This option, returning excess funds, does not make sense as we would simply ask the state for less funding and hence have no funds left over. So in other words, if you got $7,200, if we ended up having $2,000 left over and we don't take any of these other options I mentioned, we could just ask the city for the state for $22,000 instead of $24,000, and there would be zero funds completely left over for this project. Those are all options to discuss at a later time once we've paid for everything and come in on time and hopefully on budget for this project. This saves taxpayer dollars and allows for the involvement of local stakeholders who have been recognized in perpetuity on our thank you sign, which is to be in the library garden. They will also have been recognized publicly via our PowerPoint presentations, which will be shared at the City Council public event on the 28th. Please join us for cake and for learning more about our presentation. A little advertisement there. Deputy Clerk Stallard reported on the 15th that Ms. Kingsland was looking into ways to properly account for and hold aside excess funding for future project needs. It should be noted that all checks have been made appropriately to the City of Seward as indicated by Finance. And I want to say thank you to Clerk Stallard. She's been great in trying to direct us and help us and summarize things and keep up with all this. So thank you for helping us with that. It should be noted that all checks have been made appropriately to the City of Seward as indicated by Finance. We did ask them, if we get a donation, how should it come? And they told us to make it to the City of Seward. They told us to send it to the City of Seward and or to deliver those if someone handed us a check or something like that, to make absolutely sure that those were always brought to the City of Seward. all checks are written to the City of Seward, as indicated by Annette Ambrosiani in Finance. If there was an issue regarding collection donations, I believe it should have been brought up by the clerk's office, finance, or any member of administration at an earlier time, as we've mentioned this time and time again in weekly meetings. There was ample notice of fundraising efforts in multiple meetings. Current budget outlook reflects the possible excess, as I mentioned, of about $2,000 when the project is complete, if we don't get any other anticipated costs, because the purpose of that money that we collected was to get the installation done. If there are no additional costs, if there are no surprises that cause us to spend more money to complete this installation or delivery or whatever it be, then there would be an excess of $2,000 if we came in exactly as the budget is. We'll not know this until we're done with the installation and all deliverables. Question: does the public have a copy of the donor sign that their names will be on if they donate money to historic walking tour project? If not, one needs to be provided. One has been provided several times. You see it up on the screen right now. This has been provided by Commissioner Benoit during work sessions. The welcome sign and donor recognition have been discussed multiple times. In fact, I asked for and we held a special session just to focus on donor recognition on April 19th, 2021 to make 100% sure that we were consistent in how we would recognize people for giving us money for this project on 4/19/2021. The sign is in production with final submission complete. How donors wanted to be listed has been confirmed by Commissioner Ward. We wanted to make sure all donors were appropriately recognized. This is also part of the PowerPoint presentation that will be sent to City Council and will be shown at the City Council meeting. This will be provided as a laydown as well now that it's finalized. It already has. Again, there have been numerous frequent discussions of this in reports by Commissioner Benoit in publicly noticed meetings. Here's our timeline update. I kept it short as we're kind of updating the timeline and we're going through this project. The walking tour narrative is complete and they were working on that. All artwork has been provided to iZone. Those are the people making the signs. Pre-production fabrication started, on track. Ordering posts, those are done. You see that in orange because that's a not done thing. So they are ordered. Those are ordered, but we have a challenge with delivery. Again, we will not see those until shipping of July 12th. The walking tour map design is complete. If you did sit in on the meeting earlier on the working session tonight, you would know that the walking tour map is complete with a final look at that sometime this week, and hopefully delivery in time to be able to show those walking tour maps off in limited production time at the City Council. And then after that, they print on 5,000 of them to give out free of charge to anyone that is wishing to be on this walking tour, to tie to the web page, to tie to the QR codes, to tie to those good things that make this a complete wrapped up project. Completely understand why the State Historic Preservation Office is pleased with where we're at. Manufacturing the signs we talked about. Printed maps will be received. We should pick those up in time. And then we did have to hold a public event showing off the signs. My mistake on that. I put 7/28. That's actually 6/20. That's 6/28.
Yep.
So that's actually this upcoming City Council meeting. I did speak to the State Historic Preservation Office due to the pandemic and stuff. They understand people have concerns about large group gatherings. So even though mask restrictions and so on have been lifted, most communities across the state, or many communities across the state, are not necessarily encouraging large gatherings yet. We don't know what kind of gathering we might get. So they suggested to us that we hold something virtual or something smaller, and that's what we're doing via our cake celebration on June 28th with the City Council. We may even have the signs there to show off at that point in time. We can only hope, since those were shipped last week. If not, we'll have PowerPoint presentation. We'll have printed presentation. You said you're going to do for public. We possibly might have the maps. And we'll also be doing a full display like the one that you would have seen earlier tonight in a 10-minute slot with an introduction by our chair to explain the purpose of the project and how it's gone. And then Commissioner Benoit showing off the great work that's been done for this PowerPoint music set to music. The PowerPoint presentation set to music, video set to music, and cake. So please be there. Cake. So again, sign installation will not happen until post amounts are received, which have been delayed. Everybody knows about shipping delays during pandemic. SHPO is okay with this. Ideally complete by July 31st in accordance with our final report. They've been apprised of delays and receipts amounts. Signs aren't scheduled to be here before June 30th and can be displayed in part or whole at a library or the facility. We've even talked about that. A local resident, Austin Chapman, we talked about what A+10 Works has offered services to oversee installation, submitted an invoice with all the proper documentation. He'll be doing digging, filling, and coordination installs in working with hopefully other operators as needed if they're available. Austin will pick up equipment, handle concrete, fill material needs, transport equipment, materials from the site, and overall install procedure. Again, we anticipated getting free D1 and free concrete from Metco, which was a fantastic last-minute addition, and he submitted everything to Director Kingsland, who's forward to finance. So I don't think unless, did we need a vote to have that installation? I don't believe it was, but I didn't know.
Part of the grant, I would.
Part of the
think
grant,
so.
I would think, as long as we're staying within budget. Final grant report will be due on July 31st, 2021. And I also mentioned as a closing comment, I also commend our incredibly enthusiastic, dedicated, and talented commissioners and express tremendous gratitude to all of our partners and supporters that are pulling together to bring this project to fruition, doing some incredibly challenging times. Quite frankly, it's a great optimistic thing during a time that's been very hard for everybody, and it will have lasting times and impact in perpetuity. Respectfully submitted by me, by Commissioner Tanya Breck. And again, thank you for the support of everyone here, including administration, for working through all little details of this project. It's been like I said, sometimes a full-time job. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner LeBrecq. Okay, going back to our committees. The Historic Preservation Committee is very active. Others will now come into play. So we have 3 committees: volunteer recruitment and engagement, fundraising and in-kind partnerships, marketing, radio, newspaper, and Facebook. So,
Can I make a comment on that?
yes.
So those were just laying what those are. So there really are 4 committees because I was mentioning that the historic, the committee that we had was already very active. I'm not proposing changing any of those names other than the one that's fundraising for this particular project. So if you look back to the very top of our documents, the original ones were, I have them right here. Historic preservation, planning, and advocacy, no
Yep.
change. Marketing communications, no change. Grant and in-kind donations would become grants, fundraising, and in-kind donations. And then number 4, volunteer recruitment engagement would stay the same. So we're only proposing that this is the beginning of this document, and those were verified as what was officially done back in December. So we would only, for purposes of this project at least, make it fundraising, grant, and in-kind donations. If we chose to make that a permanent one, I don't think we can, because I think that, again, unless we have a grant or something that allows us to do fundraising like we wrote in this original grant, we probably wouldn't have that as a permanent thing. We can always ask for grants, but I think for future permanent ones, grant and in-kind donations is fine. We just need,
I
for
agree.
purposes of this, we probably would need to say that we agree as a commission that fundraising, if we even need to do that, because it was in the original grant.
It was in the original grant, but let's just make it real clean. I move that we add fundraising to that committee.
Well, he's got it here on his revised.
On the grant, on the grant one.
I just was referencing the
it's
fact
in the
that I
grant.
mentioned fundraising in that previous.
See, he's already changed this. These 3 are from the 4, and he's got fundraising.
But we should vote on it.
Oh, no, I know.
I can make a motion, or you can make a motion. These are the 4 from earlier. Right
And we
here.
wanna,
All we're doing is talking about changing one.
Okay.
These are the ones that are existing, not that. That just references the
Right,
previous
that's
things I
different.
had given details at Facebook, blah, blah,
I
to
know,
explain
okay.
what they were.
So then, on your grant and in-kind donations, do you need
Would
to add?
simply be grant,
We-
fundraising, grant,
we just
fundraising,
add-
and in-kind donation. That's all we
Okay,
changed.
so you need to have fundraising added there.
Yes,
Correct.
All right.
yes. So I so move
So
that we
you're-
do that as a motion. That we add fundraising to that committee.
So renaming grants and
Well,
in-kind
just
committee
clarify.
to grant in-kind and fundraising.
Not renaming, clarifying, and renaming.
Correct.
And then somebody second, we can vote.
I'll second.
There you go.
Is that clear enough? Clerk Stollard?
Yes.
So it's
Okay.
what was on the top of this
So-
document, and just changing line number 3 to grant, fundraising, and in-kind donation.
So
Okay.
Pemberton,
Yes.
LeBrecq,
Yes.
Cease,
Yes.
Benoit,
Yes.
and Ward.
Yes.
Okay, this has been approved.
Thank
We
you.
also need to vote on the letter that was brought up. If we need to do anything at all with the letter.
I think we should make a motion that we have approved it.
Okay. Before we do that, Commissioner LeBrecq, thank you very, very much for your report. Very detailed, very clear.
Outstanding, I would say.
Yes.
All I did is put down all the stuff you guys did.
All right. So now we are voting on the letter. Okay, so I will make a motion that our commission vote on the fundraising letter,
Approve the fundraising.
approve the fundraising letter that Commissioner Ward sent out.
I just say approve the fundraising letter that went out by the committee.
All right,
To make sure we're doing that correct, should we check with Deputy Clerk's tally to see if that's what needs to be, how that needs to be done?
Yes. One other note that I have, and this isn't, I hope it doesn't come across anyways, as me being nitpicky, but a commissioner needs to be the one to sign that letter when it goes out, instead of a volunteer.
It's already gone out and the fundraising is closed.
Yes,
So
but
that's
just
kind-
for the future.
For the future reference, but that doesn't have anything to do with the motion.
No,
Let's do the motion and then let's talk about that.
Okay.
well, it's done. We all
Yeah,
understand.
that we can't do anything about it now.
We know, and we agree.
Well, we
I get
understand moving forward with,
Yeah.
and we
So-
acknowledge that.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the fundraising letter that went out.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
So approving the fundraising letter that went out on June 4th. Let's see, Pemberton,
Yes.
LeBrecq,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes?
Benoit,
Yes.
Chair Cease.
Yes.
This motion has been approved.
And for the record, in the future, any fundraising letters that go out to the public will be signed by a commissioner. Okay. All right. Have we covered the things we wanted to vote on?
I believe we have.
I mean, no, I'm good. I'm good.
You sure?
I'm positive. I just want to make sure we didn't miss anything, but we're good.
Anything
Okay.
else for you? Anything we've missed?
So I did have one question, Commissioner LeBrecq. So, let's see if I can find it. Hold on. So the funds that have been donated, I spoke to Ms. Kingsland on Friday. A couple of them specify for the historic walking tour. Some of them say historic overlay. Some of them are to the city of Seward, and some of them are to the commission as a whole. Are there any projects aside from the historic overlay and the grant that you foresee that those funds would be used for?
No,
Nope.
and I haven't been provided with that info. I
Nope.
appreciate that, because I haven't been provided. I spoke to Ms. Ambrosiani, and I asked her to give me detail, which she did give me detail on all the names and amounts and all that good stuff, but I did not know that they were written to anything else, so.
And we
There are no
expressly,
other-
we expressly asked that they be written to the city of Seward. That was
And
the
it's-
express.
And it said what it was for in the
request.
letter, too. It said-
The letter
So-
did say that.
So the donations that came in for the historic overlay project need to be changed to the CLG grant
Oh.
historic walking tour.
Or that option given to the donor. So what you do is go back to the donor and say, I want to make sure that I understand the intent, because there's donor intent, because there is no funding that's currently happening for an overlay.
No,
That's not
there
funding.
is no
Exactly.
funding at all. No funding at
Exactly.
all.
And there's no funding that's happening for the overall commission either. There was a letter that went out specifically asking for installation. So I would say that we look at what those are, and if there's 2 or 3 donors, wherever they are, we contact them when we ask their permission.
Yes.
Officially, and say, can we convert this to 20005, because I believe that was your intent, and if they say, no, that wasn't my intent, then we'll say, then in that case, we would return a check.
Yeah.
We're not gonna take a check, it's
Yeah.
for something that we're not
Right.
fundraising for.
Yep.
Right. I agree.
Thank you for clarifying that, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, they were, the letters went out, told them what it was for, and they were specific. The letter, in fact, specifically said, make the checks out to the city of Seward. So the letter
So
covered pretty much all of it.
Perhaps we should discuss, since we won't necessarily have a meeting, is who's going to contact those donors to ask them? Is that Ms. Ambrosiani, is it Ms. Kingsland, is it us? Who's the appropriate person to just call and say, hey, what was the intent of that check you wrote?
The check wasn't made to me.
No, I mean, the
No.
City of Seward, that's true, it was made by the City of Seward. So City of Seward would then call out perhaps finance.
I mean, I'm happy to
Find
do
out.
it. You know what? If you want, I'm happy to do it if I get that information. So somebody has to email me the information.
With the phone number.
Well, I have all that.
Okay.
But I'm happy to contact people to clarify the donation.
Especially since when you clarified with each one of them that they were gonna be on
Yeah.
the sign for 2005, I believe that they all understood that they were all going on the sign that was
Yes.
for. But I do agree, we should completely clear that up, Deputy Clerk Stallard, there should not be any misunderstanding that any monies were solicited for anything other than this.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Ward, I am so grateful that you went out and you actually pursued the public for these, for the fundraising.
Yeah, the public was fun.
Yeah, that's great. Some of us are a little more timid, so I really, really appreciate you doing that. And Commissioner LeBrecq, I really do appreciate this report that you did. And Commissioner Pemberton, it was nice to see you, and I'm looking forward to that muscle.
He's gonna open his stall.
Yeah, he's in installation, he will not escape.
And then, my final comment before we close, I would like to request that in the future, any information that is desired by the clerks, be a little more gentle, and perhaps they take the time to look into the information that they themselves have. That's all I want to say about that. I'm grateful for our meeting. Thank you, Deputy Clerk Stallard, once again for doing this for us. And before I close, let's not forget the cemetery tour tonight, 10:30, with Lee
So-
Pileski.
History.
History.
And we're closing this meeting at 8:57 p.m.
Boom.
The commissioners have any comments?
Well,
I'm good.
Okay.
I asked.
Okay.
I didn't ask like in,
You're good then.
did you have any comments?
No, I'm good.
Because I can back up.
Comment.
Okay. Commissioner Benoit.
I just want to say I've been sincerely impressed and moved by the wonderful products that are being created from this project and by the thousands of volunteer hours it took from the commission, our partners, and the public to make that happen. It's definitely been a labor of love and an outstanding collaboration, so I'm very proud of end result of all that we did, and thank you to everybody.
Me too. I mean, this is pretty uptown professional.
I'll just say something really short. I just say some of the volunteers on this commission have served on city commissions, state commissions, some of us even national commissions. There is a wealth of experience sitting at this table, and I believe that this sign project is the result of that experience. So we've done good.
No one wants to hear me talking more. Thank you for everybody for, it's great working together, great group. Pleased and privileged to be part of it.
Yeah, me too.
And you're stuck with us, Jim.
That's
New
fine.
guy.
All right. With that, we will close the meeting at 8:59 p.m.
7:59.
Excuse me.
We may have
And
a
with
wealth
that, we will close this meeting at 7:59 p.m.
a wealth of